I want to hear a poem where ideas kiss similes so deeply that metaphors get jealous.
Where ideas kiss similes. I want to hear a poem.
When I was in college, I had like a similar line like, rhyme so unique, metaphors use me as a simile. It doesn't mean shit.
Yeah,
it just sounds cool.
But if you say it right, you know what I'm saying?
It sounds pretty.
Two-piece combo! Two-piece combos where we review two pieces of poetry, one from YouTube, one from Instagram off of #poetry. So the first piece that we'll be reviewing is off of YouTube from Steve Coleman, 1998 Slam champion from the first season of Def Poetry.
HBO's Def Poetry.
And
so for y'all that don't know, HBO did like it was like a medium run. It was like, what, 4 seasons? 5
Very
seasons?
innovative at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, bro,
Maybe,
groundbreaking.
5.
Famously based on the Poetry Lounge in LA, but it was like a show that was a showcase for poets, spoken word poets, on HBO every week.
Yeah.
We're about to get all into the nostalgia feels.
As the host, of course.
The mighty Mos Def.
Our first poet is 1998 Slam champion. Please give it up for Steve Coleman.
Damn, dog.
I want to hear a poem. I want to learn something I didn't know. I want to say yes at the end because I'm sick of saying so. I want to hear a poem about who you are and what you think and why you slam, not a poem about me and my poem because I know who I am. I want to hear a love poem.
AB, yeah, he's doing like a cute little like
at the time,
BB.
At the time that
but
shit
it's
was
got
cool.
it's got kind of that New Yorker kind of rap rhythm.
Yeah.
And it's very clear he's writing a poem for the scene.
Right.
This is a reactive.
Yeah.
The style was very conducive of the era.
Word.
The whole rhyme style. Like rhymers used to win slam championships like all the time back then.
Can I just say though that outfit's one soul patch away from being like mad 90s intolerable for me.
Bro, can you imagine him like wearing a puka shell necklace?
Right,
like,
he looks like a survivor in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Or a reject from a 90s boy band.
Sad poem, and I hate my dad poem, a dream poem, and I'm not what I seem poem, and I need poem, and I also bleed poem, and I'm alone poem, and I can't find my home poem. I just want to hear a poem. I want to hear a poem about revolution, about fists raised high and hips twisting in a rumble like a Roomba. I want to follow
his pause in his delivery style.
I want to hear a love poem, a sad poem, and I hate my dad poem, a dream poem, and I'm not what I seem poem, and I need poem, and I also bleed poem, and I'm alone poem, and I can't find my home poem. I just want to hear a poem. I want to hear a poem about revolution, about fists raised high and hips twisting in a rumble like a Roomba. I want to follow the footsteps.
Okay, to this day, dog, when I first heard this, right?
Because you used to fuck with this poem heavy, right?
Yeah, okay. So this was like one of my fucking jams.
You would burn it to CDs on Nero.
I used to make mixtape for girls, right? Like, you slide that mixtape over, and I used to like throw in a little bit of Def Poetry in there, and like this was one of the jams, dog.
How did you find it? Like did you like download
Kazaa? I would either Kazaa them, or I would literally make like copies.
And then
of Def Poetry.
would you like extract the audio through Cool Edit Pro and then burn it to Nero?
I used to hook up the audio out on my VCR to my 4-track.
Tight.
And then I would take the tape and I would take it to the homie who had like a big just a setup, an analog setup, and then I would put that onto a CD. Boom. I got mad bootlegs.
See, that's all the work.
This guy's
come on, y'all.
This guy's chin is like strong as fuck.
That to say though,
Look at that.
this was one of those poems that I used to fuck with back in the day hard, and I could say that now, fucking 20 fucking years later, Rumble and Roomba and that little wordplay still sticks in my head.
Yeah, and that's very New York too. That's tying into
Roomba.
Latin
with a
culture.
fist raised like a rumble. What does he say?
Is he talking about Roomba?
Home poem. I just want to hear a poem. I want to hear a poem about revolution, about fists raised high and hips twisting in a rumble like a Roomba. I want to follow
like a Roomba. Is he talking about Roomba? Like
with hips twisting like
so
a
it's
rumble.
like a style of dance. So he's relating revolution to dancing. So
I was thinking like the robot vacuum cleaner.
So it's like culture is protest.
No.
All right. I'm sorry. I didn't know shit. Sorry. I didn't know shit.
And then what he ends up doing is he does something very difficult, and he rhymes Roomba with Lumumba, who was a political leader in Africa.
Yeah, but damn, look at those sideburns though. Still,
Bro, that vest, dog. That vest.
The footsteps of Che and hear the truth about the day the CIA killed Lumumba.
Yeah.
I want to hear a poem about struggle so that when I open my mouth, I can step outside myself. I want to listen to no less than the sounds of protest in the factories where workers sweat and make Air Jordans and Pro Keds, because if you want to take
90s
shots
right there, the anti-sweatshop movement, Kathy Lee Gifford,
Pro Keds, bro.
Yeah.
In general.
Nike,
Also, he kind of contradicts
scandals.
himself because he spends the whole beginning of this poem being like, I want to hear a poem about everything, about like your dark, and then he's like, and then I want to hear no less than protest poetry. Like, whoa, bro, what happened to the love poem and the other shit? Like, what?
Oh, wow.
Because now he's in the I'm trying to sound deep, like bag.
For the cause.
shots at people, target Phil Knight and Bill Gates, contemplate how they own the products and they got the goods, how they act like they care, but they're just Robin Hoods.
Oh, of course, Robin Hood, Robin the Blacksley, the reverse.
And because every second matters, I want to hear long poems and short poems about time and its limits, because it took less than 3 minutes to attack Abner Louima, to frame Assata Shakur and destroy Hiroshima, to kill Eleanor Bumpers and Anthony Baez, to gun down Malcolm with bullets they bought from the feds.
And I really like whenever you write something like this, right? It's usually a list, again, like you're making references and things like that. But that little line that he did felt like it was inspired by the words. You know what I'm saying? It didn't feel like it was like, how do I get these references in here? I felt like it was somewhat organic.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then it so happened to just really work well for the piece, but it feels more organic than what you would normally do with the reference.
Look at my man's face right here.
I just
Looks
gonna
like he's about to
say,
sneeze.
once again, as a Latino, I appreciate Anthony Baez. I have no idea who the fuck that is, but I appreciate the shout out to
Abner
someone
Louima, to frame Assata Shakur and destroy Hiroshima, to kill Eleanor Bumpers and Anthony Baez, to gun down Malcolm with bullets they bought from the feds. I want to hear a poem where ideas kiss similes so deeply that metaphors get jealous.
Where ideas
swag.
kiss similes.
Oh,
I want to hear a poem. What do you say that where ideas kiss similes so sweetly that they make metaphors
With
jealous?
Yeah.
Metaphors.
Okay,
cute. Jealous. Yeah.
Like I said, like when I was in college, I had like a similar line, like rhyme so unique, metaphors use me as a simile. It doesn't mean shit.
Yeah,
it just sounds cool.
But if you say it right, you know what I'm saying?
That sounds pretty. I really appreciate that line because that's line fucking with poetic language, bringing up poetic language. I mean, it's a very
masturbatory.
It is very indulgent. Yeah, it's very masturbatory.
But who in that room is going to go home and be like, "What is a simile?" And I'm gonna find out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like to his credit, you could say that like he's listing off a lot of names, and he's like, okay, well, they couldn't really Google at the time, but like they could like go to a library and open an Encyclopedia Britannica and possibly like research these names,
or get their free AOL trial disc and go home.
or an Encyclopedia Encarta on their Windows 95 machine.
Shit, son. With the pictures, pictures.
Let's go.
Where the subject matters so much that adjectives start holding pronoun rallies at City Hall.
Where the subject matters so much that adjectives start holding pronoun rallies.
So it's tying in.
Fuck outta here, bruh.
Political, you know.
Where the subject. This is
early word association schemes that like don't really make sense, but it just sounds cool.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's
like
lit, though.
I like the
because I want to hear a poem that attacks the status quo, that attracts the claps, the cat.
I'm like willing to forgive a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like his whole demeanor and stuff like that. He is creating like a very fun.
All right,
way
Mr. Steve Coleman, apologist. Let's get to the poem.
I'm just saying. I think you're cute, Mr. Coleman. At City Hall. Oh. Because I want to hear a poem that attacks the status quo, that attracts the claps of the cats with the fattest flows, that makes the crowd pass the hat and pack my cap with a stack of dough. I want to hear a poem that makes this audience yell, "Ho!"
When you feature at a venue, they pass around a basket like church. That was one of the things. So you would, the better you did as a feature, the more money you would get in the hat.
But nobody has said fattest flow since like Freestyle Fellowship and made it sound cool.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
It's on
Pyro,
it's on the level of like those rhymes that were typed back then, like flipping and dipping.
Yeah,
like
I'm flipping and dipping and skipping and ripping. Like, whoa, no, you're just saying rhyming words. Fattest flow,
stacking and macking. Like word, okay,
stacking and macking.
Because I want to guess your favorite color, then craft rhyme schemes out of thin air. I want to hear a poem about why the statute of limitations for rape is only 5 years. I want to hear a poem. I want to feel a poem. I want to taste the poem. Give me your spot on the mic if you want to waste a poem. I want to hear a poem.
I like how at the end too he said, "Give me your spot on the mic if you want to waste a poem," like kind of like a shout out, or like a shot.
All right,
so better be good, dog.
As is customary on two-piece combo, we give every piece that we review a score out of 10. So that being said, Mr. Romero.
Yeah. So it was actually my idea.
Yeah, facts.
To put this poem on. I thought Def Poetry Season 1.
Right.
And we saw it and we thought, this is a classic. We've got to review this.
It hit me in the member feels real hard.
And I was very glad.
And over 21 years, much like a fine whiskey,
did
it mellow? Shit. Did it have? It has a lot of hints of vanilla for sure.
Right. Hey.
But yo, how do you feel about it now? Like, retroactively.
Yeah, no, seriously, I would not, put this in the upper echelons. I'm going to give this like a 7.
Okay.
So this is a poem, when you're looking at a slam and slam scores, this is not something that I'm like eager to advance this poet.
No, not at all.
But this is like a very pleasant 7.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like the 7 that you put on to kick off your open mic or
your feature, like the first one in your feature.
Right. What is slam poetry? To show someone like, here's an example, like I said, it's very non-threatening.
The showmanship is clearly there, like in Aces, where like he has that little like crowd call out, like everyone say "oh," and he has a good crowd control, so you can see that the fundamentals of performance poetry are there.
Yeah.
It's just like the text itself hasn't really aged that well.
Yeah, I feel you.
Right.
So speaking of aging well, Mr. Daniel, who used to love the shit out of us, who went through the efforts of going from analog recording to re-recording to digital.
Analog to digital.
So
AAD.
How do you feel about this now, and what do you score about this in 2019?
So I got to thank Mr. Coleman and all of the HBO Def Poetry folks, because I used to throw these on mixtapes and get little girlfriends back in the day to think that I was smarter than I was. It definitely hits me in the nostalgia feels. Like it makes me miss having something like Def Poetry a lot. Yeah. Like what a dope thing that was. Like this high caliber, high stage thing that where we got to see people do poetry. How dope was that? It does feel dated, but if you do understand the context of poetry and like you have been involved since this time, even you do understand why it feels dated and its place in history. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of room there. If I saw this at an open mic and I knew the cat was a poet, if he walked in and he was like, I was like, he's a poet, right? This guy's a poet, he's gonna go do a poem, I would be like, fuck yeah, that's dope. If this was at a slam and this was round 1, I'm gonna give you a 7.4. I'm gonna give you a 7.4, and I'm gonna be like,
"Are you sure you don't want to rate that higher? Because you just like say how you feel, bro." It's like
7.4.
You still love it.
Fair.
All right, cool.
Yeah. I love it. That's fine. I could love a 7.4.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
I'm a hard 6.5. So what are you gonna do?
But yeah,
but yeah, no, I think 7.4 is fair. It hit me in the feels. I'll always love it in a special way. But it is what it is.
It'll always be a 9.8.
Yeah, but that's really. I'm trying to count for that in my head and not be like a 10.
But objectively, yes.
Yeah, I think 7.4 is the
current moment.
All right, so I get the idea, and I kind of get like what he's trying to go for. But that being said, like having never seen this before, and this is my first time seeing it and hearing it, like not really fucking with the style, which is interesting because I love rhyming in poetry, and like, but it's just that it's not good rhyming.
Right, he didn't do a lot of it either.
There are not many multi-syllables.
There's almost no multi.
Or surprising rhymes. Like, wow, you were able to rhyme this with that.
Yeah,
right.
Like none of that. So like a lot of bait rhymes and for that, but like the showmanship is there, and like I gotta give him points for that. Like, okay, well at least he knows how to rock the crowd. That being said, like the poetry itself is like very dated. 5.
5. That's fair.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
And it's hard because in a slam scale, probably like a 6.5 to soft 7 is more appropriate.
Right.
But just how I feel about it, a 5.
Word. Yeah, no, that's fair. I feel that.
For sure. So that was the first piece of the 2-piece combo from Steve Coleman, 1998 Slam champion, with his piece, I Want to Hear a Poem.